Okay, my friends, welcome to the Saturday morning live stream. Let me get this microphone situated. Man, we got all kinds of stuff to talk about today. I hope that we can get to it all. I got all kinds of stuff that I want to show you guys. And like I said, I hope we can get to it all. So, aloha 808 Shibi. Good morning. I'll wait for everyone to kind of get here and before we start. Whoa, yeah. Man, ginger and cloves boiled for about 10 minutes and then taken off the heat, poured into the cup, and honey and lemon juice. And that is really good tonic. Good morning, Graham. Good morning in the misty shores of Ireland, right? Yeah, and the ginger, guys, guess what? That's right, Charlie, it is harvest time. Greetings from Alaska, greetings from Indiana. Look at that. That's ginger, my friends. Yeah, well, there's two gingers here, but this one actually was grown, and I grew it from the ginger that I got from the co-op. So this stuff proves that in zone 5B, 6A, northern Indiana, you can grow garlic. And I actually have a lot more of it out there to harvest. Now, I am going to start it much, much earlier next year, and I know now how to do that because this is my second year growing it, and now I've learned from these previous 2 years. So this upcoming year, we're going to grow garlic big time, even if you're in zone 5B, 6A. We just have to start it early indoors. I think I said garlic, I meant ginger. Yeah, because it's such a rare thing. We don't grow that around here. I mean, this does not grow. And I've been using the leaves all summer long because they get real tall, and I've been using the leaves in the tea all summer. So it has been really fantastic. Definitely going to be growing it more. Tirzah, Northwest Arkansas. Good morning. Hello. Upvote, thumbs up. Make sure you like the video, guys. That's right, Matthew. Good to see you, my friend. My Euro Shorts friend. Let's see, Graham, I'm actually having problems trying to grow ginger. I've got turmeric up well. Yeah, the ginger and turmeric grow very similar, and they take like 10 months to really get to fruition. I mean, they're really a tropical thing, but we can grow them. And so last year, I didn't hardly get anything. I just got them to sprout. But now I realize that you have to sprout them months before your expected last frost. So on this channel, we'll be starting them about like February. We'll be starting chunks of ginger. And yes, it works. If you get the ginger or the turmeric from the co-op, the organic stuff, it will sprout. Terry, hello from Northwest Indiana. Northwest. Okay, so you're by South Bend area. Yes, I am Northeast. Hello from Jamaica. Hello, Tansley Ramsey. That's a fun name to say. Hello, Andrew from Oklahoma. Hello from Okeechobee, Florida. Michelle Perkins. Rick, hey, Nate from nearly ground zero in Southwest Florida. Oh, wow. How are you? How did things, where you're at? What has happened? Did you get flooded out? Do you have a garden? Did it get messed up? What is going on? Val, good morning, Val. Yes, good morning to you as well. And so, the JK from East Texas, Kenneth Tice, good morning, everybody. So, a lot of things that I want to talk about today. First is that, okay, the last video that I made, titled The Most Important Thing. Make sure you let me know if you guys can't hear this, you know, because I'm having to tie this to my, tunic, this new Viking tunic. But yeah, so the last video that I made was about the most important thing to do in your garden right now. And so I feel, and gauging from the responses and stuff, that it seems like I'm saying that you don't need fertilizer, but that's not what I'm saying. You see, I'm trying to drive home the point that healthy, thriving soil with a robust microbial population and with the appropriate things inside doesn't really require fertilization. Now, of course, I still fertilize, and you can and you should still fertilize. These fertilizers on the channel are fantastic. They are very useful. I mean, that's the way. But what I'm seeing with people is an over-reliance on the liquid fertilizers, thinking that they can just have whatever kind of garbage soil that they have from the store or bags of soil or something, and then just dump a bunch of the liquid fertilizers on it. But it doesn't really work that way. That's the point that I was trying to drive home. So it's not that I don't give my plants love. I mean, they get love all summer long. You saw in the video how my method for applying the things, they feast like kings and queens. Most of them are queens, actually. Very few king plants. So I just wanted to clear that up, okay? Still make the fertilizers, it's all still good. It's just like a healthy individual will still take, we'll still have smoothies, and we'll still take kale powder and stuff that we made ourselves, of course. So we dehydrate our own kale, powder that up. And we're gonna still take all that stuff. We're still gonna eat the raw beef liver, which has been going awesome, by the way. The raw beef liver has been, man, the body just feels really good when I eat it, and I just slice it into thin little like playing dice size cubes and just swallow it whole with water like a pill. The raw beef liver, organic, grass-fed, of course, and the body is just like, yes, it feels so, I've yet to come up with a way to describe it, but it feels fantastic, and it feels like completing, the body feels very complete with that kind of minerals and vitamins. Let's see, you eat cat food. They eat cat food. Eat they cat food. What is the cat food? The raw beef liver? Possibly. Oh no, I just turned in and your feed is freezing up. I don't think it's on my end, I hope not. Hello from Highlandville. Hi, Error 1. Hello, Chad. Humates trap nitrates. Hello from Sierra Leone. Hello, Sahid. Good morning, everyone. It's going to be a hot one today in the Oregon coast. 84 degrees, says Ingrid. Wow, still 84 in the Oregon coast. Have the rains come yet? Because I remember living in Northern California for a number of years that it would go 6 months without a drop of rain. And that's why we could grow the crops we were growing there. And then when the rains came, it would rain nonstop for 6 months, more or less. It would be foggy and just wonderful and beautiful, and everything would come back to life. And it would just be raining pretty much all the time for 6 months straight until the rains just shut off and didn't rain again. Whole different kind of growing in a way. I mean, the soil food web and everything is still the same. It's just that you have to really prepare. You have to really think far ahead when there's that much time in the dry season. Joe says, we're getting rain here in coastal Connecticut. Is that common for you, or is that not? Ingrid says, we had a few days of rain. Okay, so the rainy season hasn't come yet. Spreading ideas. Thank you for your effort. Well, you're very welcome, my friend. Hello from Quint, West Ontario. I just received a chip drop. What is the best use for it? Chip drop. Okay, so you have a number of uses for that. It's very good for mulching the pathways in the garden. That's what I use. I like those kind of chips for mulching the pathways in the garden. Now, you'll see a lot of people with the back to Eden method gardening where they will just lay out the wood chips, and that is like the mulch. It's a lot like the Ruth Stout method, the deep mulch, except that it's with the wood chips. Now, the thing that most people don't understand about the wood chips, though, now listen, is that they take a while to break down, and in the process, look at this amateur, I didn't shut off my phone. In the process of the breaking down, the bacteria that break down the wood chips, their main fuel is nitrogen. They need the nitrogen. And so they are going to use the nitrogen that's in the soil in order to break down the wood chips. Now, the nitrogen doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't use up the nitrogen in the soil. It just ties the nitrogen up in the bodies of the bacteria. So it temporarily can make soil nitrogen deficient, especially, mostly right where the wood chips meet the soil. That reaction I'm talking about only happens in a fraction of a millimeter, space. But that's what most people don't realize. So when they start, they do lay out a bunch of wood chips, and then they plant their plants into it all, and they're like, man, everything is like yellow. Everything's starting to turn yellow. Everything's not really looking that healthy. Why is that? I'm doing the back to Eden thing. But because they didn't give it enough time. You need microbiology and time with the wood chip thing. So if you laid them all out, I would say the year after next would be most ideal. You know, even if you laid them all out now, in the springtime, you could be planting into them. Especially if you add the JDOM microbial solution or the fish fertilizers or any of the fertilizers or the microbial solutions that you see on this channel, inoculate the wood chips with that. That will be ideal, okay? So, oh yeah, scalding hot. Now, let's see. Chad, it's dry here, no rain in the forecast. I watered my wheat and clover to get it to germinate. Should I continue to water? Yeah, I mean, once it sprouts, yeah. Wheat and clover, they're very, very hardy. In fact, once it's established and seeds itself, it's very difficult to get rid of. But we don't let it go that far. So yes, you can water it, especially if you've started watering it and there is not going to be any water in the forecast, then yeah, go ahead and water it, and that will help establish the roots. Now, I forget exactly where you're at. Are you in Connecticut? Because that means that you would have the same sort of termination time as we will. Let's see. Charlie says, a deep bed, 3 inches of wood chips with added nitrogen provides insane results after a couple of years. Absolutely correct. And notice, with added nitrogen after a couple of years. And that's exactly correct. So it's more of a long-term thing. I'm all about it. And I've used this method before, and it's wonderful at conserving moisture. But we just have to be realistic with it, okay? Let's see. Paul, prepping 3x12 raised bed for garlic. I have plenty of JDOM fertilizer. I'm 3 to 4 weeks from planting. Is it okay to add the liquid fertilizer several times prior to planting? Absolutely. If there's nothing in the soil, you can add the microbial solution straight. I mean, you could make a 55-gallon drum with it and add that to the soil straight. And it's very beneficial, so long as there's no plants in there. You can add any of the fertilizers, because remember, these kind of fertilizers, these are microbiological fertilizers. This is biology, not chemistry. What you see in the farm fields, that's in the industrial stuff, that's chemistry. And that's where you hear about the talk of, oh, the nitrogen leached out and the phosphates are leaching into the water and algae blooms and all this devastating stuff. We don't have to worry about that because we're not using chemistry so much as we are the living biology. So you can put any of those fertilizers into the soil, and that is going to help the soil to colonize and thrive and be strong and healthy. So yes. Val, been using your method to make the JDOM soil micros successfully for the last 3 applications. Last night's buckets failed. I used organic purple sweet potato, going to restart with regular potato. Yeah, that could also be because the temperature fluctuation gets too high or gets too much. When it gets really cool at night again, like gets into the 40s, that's not gonna be good. That's not, it needs to be insulated. So the bucket would need to be insulated. Yeah. Because that is probably what did it. That wild, in the direct sun, it would get up to 85 degrees during the day and then cool way down to 40 at night. They're not gonna like that. That's not gonna add for a successful brew. Lee Longo says, good explanation about the wood chip mistake I made this year. Looking forward to what I learned from you for next year. Absolutely, Lee. So make the JDOM microbial solution with good quality leaf mold and inoculate the soil, and then add any of the heavy nitrogen, the human urine, also the ash fertilizer, and any of the biologicals. All that stuff you can add to it, and that's just gonna really make it some good quality stuff. Matthew says, thumbs up the vid/live stream, friends of the Viking. Yes, Matthew, thank you very much. You've been supportive from day one. I don't even know how you got here so early, but from day one, he's been a supportive friend of mine. So will 10% molasses in FPJ concentrate, then dilute 10% in water as soil drench, decrease soil pH enough to harm plants? Yeah, FPJ does not use molasses, ever. it will not work. It doesn't have the appropriate osmotic pressure to draw out the hormones and stuff that you want from the plant juice. So don't be using molasses in the FPJ. I haven't made any videos on that yet. I will in the springtime, because the springtime's the best time to make that. But you don't really want to be adding much sugars to the soil. We use a little bit in the fish hydrolysate, but you don't want to add too much sugars, because that it competes with the exudates of the roots of the plants, because that's how the plants develop the relationship with the microorganisms. The plant says, okay, guys, I will give you the sugars that you need if you, in return, will go way out into the soil and get for me the stuff that I need, the certain nutrients and the moisture. And the bacteria and fungi say, okay, deal. And so the plant feeds them a specific type of sugar, and they eat that. So if you're dumping sugar into the soil, that's gonna outcompete. That's why we don't really use it here in this channel. Ms. P, suggestions for plants that might form a natural barrier to keep quackgrass out of beds. Pfft, it's devilishly aggressive and hardy and loves mulch paths. Man, quackgrass, see, you know why they call it quackgrass? Trying to get rid of it makes you go insane, turns you into a quack. That's why. Because the quackgrass can send rhizomes underneath the soil surface feet, like 10 feet, and then pop up another thing. I mean, it is unbelievable, which we can't be mad at it, because remember from my video about the concept that there are no weeds, it's actually very good, because its job, its purpose in life is to get a living root back into any soil, no matter what has happened, no matter what kind of devastation has happened. The quackgrass's purpose in life is to start get that living root into the soil so that it can capture the carbon and start pumping it into the soil. So it's actually a wonderful thing, but not in the garden, because it'll strangle out everything that we're trying to grow. And that's not good. So the best quackgrass, man, you'll see, I'll be doing some other gardens, a number of different techniques this upcoming spring. So you will see ways that we can still garden even in a field of quackgrass. It's kind of extreme, but you'll see. But it's way too much for me to explain right here, though. Let's see. Is quackgrass like crabgrass? No. Crabgrass is the kind that goes down and it spreads out and it just puts all its roots down and it grabs onto everything, and it looks kind of like the sprawled out legs of a crab. And you pull it up and it takes like 5 pounds of your good garden soil with it. That's the crabgrass. The quackgrass is the stuff that sends the runners like underneath the white roots underneath the ground, and then pops up and then sends in the moment it pops up above the soil surface, it begins using that solar panel to send more rhizomes out. And then it pops up. So you'll rip these ones up and that one comes up. But even if you tear up all the quackgrass and just a 1-inch section of the rhizome is left, guess what? It'll pop up 2 more, you'll have quackgrass. It's just unbelievable trying to get rid of it. So yeah, it's different. It's different than quackgrass, okay? Okay, is ash from coal any use for your garden? Yeah, you can use coal ash, definitely. As long as it's pure, I mean, as long as it's clean. But yeah, they've been using that for a long time. Where are you getting coal ash from? I hope you don't mean like charcoal, like your barbecue. That's not coal. I'm sure you know that though. Double A, that's good to know about the sugars and molasses. Ops, that is what I used. Oops, that is what I used this year in my biochar brew. Yeah, it'll be okay. It'll be totally okay to use a little bit as food for microbes. When you're culturing microbes like that in the biochar, it's okay to use it then, because they don't have those root exudates. So you can use it then, but just make sure that everything is nice and diluted. But there's a lot of people, like especially in Northern California, a lot of the people were under the delusion, and I was at the time as well, that's how I know this, that, okay, well, towards the end of the plant's life cycle, if we feed it the molasses, the sugars is gonna make the flower trichomes real robust and sticky. Yeah, it correlates sugar, and it's gonna make the sugars of the plant it's going to give the plant a high bricks content. If we add bricks to the soil, it's going to make the plant have high bricks content. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. In fact, the opposite can be true. So we don't add sugars to the soil, my friends. So anyways, cool, I will progress. Yes, you will. Let's see, Joanne, when we make any of the fertilizers with the leaf mold, after they've set for a few weeks and then we apply it to the soil, are the microbes still living? Do we need to consider their life cycle? Okay, after we make any of the fertilizer, so you mean that after you've put it in there, then are the microbes still living in the soil? Yes, absolutely they are. There's so many different kinds of microbes, and I got books on this stuff, and I've listened to hours and hours and hours of lectures over the years, and attended seminars and stuff like this, and there's so many different kinds of microbes. I mean, what it boils down to is we don't even know even remotely close how many microbes there actually are, and their life cycles. Even deep science doesn't know that. So the thing is that we just have to mimic nature in as close as possible, and let nature sort all that out, because it's already sorted all that out. So yes, we can add the fertilizers to the soil because it's also a microbial brew. And yes, it's going to inoculate the plants, but you do want to get a living root into the soil as quickly as possible. That's the only way to build soil, is by having a root in the ground, because only a living root from a plant can capture carbon and pump it into the soil where it will remain locked up. And that's what we want, high carbon. Your mic is working good. No need to be concerned with it. Thank you for telling me that. Thank you for telling me that. Yeah, I want to get a different mic pretty soon though, but yeah, this one works for now. This one works for now. Let's see. It's Ireland, Nate. We've all the minerals of the earth, including gold. That's their favorite. Yeah. Tell me about it. I know. It's because of the properties of gold, as I'm sure that you understand. Thank you. I appreciate the channel. Thank you. You're welcome, Patriot. Vasiliadis. Are you Greek, by the way? What about fish fertilizer? You said needs some fungi from old tree, and I have only pine trees, and I cannot recognize this fungi. So is there other way to make this recipe? Thank you in advance. It's okay. You can use the pine stuff as well. And that's something I should have put in the leaf mold video, was that you use whatever is around you. So conifers will work just fine. I learned about all this stuff. I really got deeply passionate about it in the redwoods. I was living in a grove of redwoods in Northern California. And that's where the old schoolers were like, this is how you do it. And so that is perfectly adequate, because, and don't worry about it being acidic or anything like that. It doesn't work that way. It is, we're just capturing the microbiological activity and the life. So that's what really matters the most. Okay. Gabe, hello, my friend. Okay, living brew is what I meant. How long is it alive? Living brew is what I meant. How long is it alive? So if you're talking about the microbial brew, the Jadam microbial solution, just not very long. It needs to get into the soil fast because there's no food for it. Once it's in the soil, there's all kinds of things that the microorganisms can consume and form relationships with. But the liquid fertilizer is a different thing. So that can, I mean, when you have it brewing, it brews indefinitely. It doesn't go bad. But once you remove its food source, not all that long. Not all that long. Much longer than the microbial solution, though. Okay. But the main thing when you're making the microbial brews is to visually see. That's the revolutionary aspect of the Jadam microbial solution that is, in my opinion, far superior to any aerated compost tea. Because in the aerated compost tea, you cannot see when the microbial activity is at its peak. So there's no way of telling. You just have to go off of what? But once you start using the Jadam way and you don't disturb the water, you can see very clearly, based upon the bubble activity, when the brew is at its peak. And there's a very clear buildup and then a peak of the foam, just massive, thick, nice, dense layer of foam. But then after just that 4 to 6 hour window, it starts to dissolve. and within 12 to 30 to 24 hours after the peak, if it's gone just a little bit too long, the whole thing's just dissolved, and it's just a film of sort of dead material. And so in the aerated brews, we have no way of telling when people used to brew them for 3 days or 5 days. I don't know, brew it for a couple of days. You have no way of telling. So in the JDOM way, you always use the gauge of the bubbles. You want peak activity because that is the byproduct of the microbial action. Okay. I've got some biochar that I inoculated with EM1, fermented with molasses for about a month now. Should I mix it into the soil before planting? Yeah, the EM1 was a gift. I think I remember you saying that, asking my opinion about the EM1. Yes. Mix it into the soil before planting. Yes. That is what you want to do. And that's going to be a house for the microbes for a long time to come. Let's see. Gabe, I'm going to be building an earth box sub-irrigation system. The box is sealed so the water evaporates up through the soil. What is the best soil to use? I'm going to reuse old soil and chuck in cocoa. So the box is sealed so the water evaporates up through the soil. Well, I mean, that depends. That depends on a lot of factors. I would have to see. But any of the potting soils is going to work. Any of the peat-based soils, those are going to work. I would have to see the setup to know exactly, to give it the right diagnosis, though, actually. So anything, that is not too heavy. Ms. P, $5. Thank you very much, my friend. You are always very supportive. I appreciate you. Is it necessary to add liquid fertilizers after adding a microbial solution? Well, they're very different things. There's actually no NP or K or calcium or sulfur or any of that in the microbial brew. There is all of that in the fertilizer brews. The microbial brew, though, is what we need in order to unlock the nutrients that are present in the soil. And so, because remember, the plant cannot absorb anything directly. Doesn't matter how much bone meal you put into the soil, how much blood meal, how much of any kind of the natural fertilizers, the plant cannot absorb that directly. The fish, none of that. It has to first be passed through the digestive tract of the microorganisms, through a complex, the bacteria and the fungi, and then the protozoa and nematodes eat those, and then the arthropods, and all of that produces, the byproduct is the plant for the food. So by inoculating the soil, we're giving a good balance of microorganisms. And let me go back up just a little bit, okay? So I can see if you guys love the channel. We'll be implementing a lot of your methods in my garden. Thanks for all you do. You're very welcome, Andrew. Thank you for the shout out and the positive energy. I'm in 7B, totally confused on what I can plant. I see kale growing next to snow, but then here I should winter down. First year gardening in the mountains of Arizona. Okay, totally confused. So in 7B, there's certain things. So you would have a very hot summer, right? Very, very hot summer, I would guess. And so during the wintertime, you can grow things that are frost hardy, because that would be kale, collard greens, cabbages, even peas, and well, there's plenty more. All the bok choys, pak choy, any of the little Asian greens, any of the Japanese kind of greens, you can grow all that over the winter time, because not only is it frost hardy, it's like cold tolerant. So if the days get up to in the 50s or 40s, 50s, and it dips down below freezing sometimes and stuff, that's perfect. You could grow stuff throughout the winter, okay? And that would that's overwintering. But now anything of the heat-loving stuff that is going to die, so like tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers, eggplants, potatoes, things that we call heat-loving, those will die. The moment that the frost comes, they'll die. So you can't grow any of those. But things like the collards and the green onions and the kale, all that stuff, it can tolerate temperatures down to about 20, really. Even kale is just brutal cold. I mean, kale can take, I have it snow on the kale sometimes and stuff, but Elena, 9.99, my friend. Thank you very much. I appreciate your support. You've always been very supportive of the videos, and I appreciate that. It's inspiring to me. Nate, you the man. Thank you, my friend. How do you winterize JLF? And code for Lionhead Mushroom Kit. Thanks, brother. Yes. Okay. The code for the Lion Mane Mushroom Kit is Garden Viking, so you can use that, and I'll be showing you guys that here in just a moment. See, mine's already started to, the pins have already started to come out. But yes, the how do you winterize the JLF? That's actually, I think, going to be the very next video. So probably Monday, I will be making a video about that, on what we can do. So, because yeah, it gets brutally, I mean, it gets very cold here, no doubt. It'll, the brews will freeze solid all winter long, for like 2 months straight. So I will definitely be showing you that. So make sure that you look out for that video, okay? Because it's way more than I want to explain here. Val, you could do alliums in the winter too, I believe. Absolutely, yeah. Green onions are really good. Good morning from Urantia. Is that an actual place? Urantia. And let me go back up a little bit, see if I missed you guys some of these questions. Okay. Matthew, the shirt is very cool. Thank you, my friend. A friend gave it to me. So let's see here. When we make Ireland, what about the fish? Coming coal. Okay, well, so some things that I did want to talk to you guys about is, let's see. Well, here is the, so, you know, we will be doing the mushrooms here on the channel, and we are going to start with the Lion's Mane Spray and Grow Kit. Now, that is because I want you guys to understand the process of how the mushrooms grow. This stuff is super fascinating to me, because most people have no idea so, you know, and I'll keep all the explanations simple and to the point, and of course, and but let me try to show you this here. If you can see, the Lion's Mane kit is actually very easy to grow. So it just comes in this box, and you just slice an X in the plastic and then spray it. It comes with this little sprayer and so like a couple times a day, if you can think of it, you just spray it just to make sure, because they like high humidity. And when we do the buckets, we're going to be actually making a humidity chamber for the buckets to grow in. Okay, because that's when it's really cool. So yes, we're going to start by growing the Lion's Mane, and I will show you guys. This one is super easy. I mean, it just grows itself, basically. And you can get a number of flushes out of this. Flushes mean, okay, so this thing is going to grow, and there's going to be big white mushrooms hanging off of it, and right at the right time, I'm going to pick it, fry it up, and it's going to be delicious and super beneficial for all sorts of things, which I'll do videos on the benefits of these kind of mushrooms. But then we're going to keep spraying it, and it's going to do another flush. And then we're going to keep spraying it. It's probably going to do it a third, maybe even a fourth. We'll see. Flush. Now, a flush just means that it's fruited. So the mushroom is like the apple of the apple tree. The mushroom is the fruit of the organism. So I won't get into it here, but that's what's going to be coming in the videos. So, and then the cool thing is, once all the flushes are done with this, after you've had a number of different harvests of this, we're going to take this and inoculate some buckets with this. And that is going to allow us to grow a bunch more. So we're going to make it really last as far as possible. And we're going to be having awesome mushrooms all winter long. And you've no doubt heard about tons of the health benefits and everything of the mushrooms. And I won't get into it right here, but there's all kinds of very beneficial things for the cognitive functioning, for the digestive functioning, for the spiritual functioning. Every aspect is benefited by consuming this. And so consuming this actual mushroom like this is light years beyond any kind of supplement you can get. I'm sorry, guys, if you're selling the mushroom supplement or whatever, nothing can compare to the actual mushroom, okay? No tincture. Some people will say otherwise, but it's of my experience and my opinion that nothing can compare to the real deal. Okay, so that is why we take these ourselves. So all the little powders and everything like that, this is going to trump all that. So get your kit and start as soon as you want. No rush, because it's still about 3 weeks to a month away before we're really going to be doing this stuff, because we got so much to do outside still for next year. Now is when we prepare for next year's bounty. So there's a number of different videos that are going to come out about what to do for next year. In particular, someone asked me, Nate, I just have a big plot of grass, but I want it to be a garden next year. What's the best way to prepare it for next year? And there's a number of ways, but there's two primary distinctions. One of them is if you plan on tilling, and one of them is a no-till method. So I will show you a method for each of those that is really ideal, so you don't have to worry about fertility next year or grass or any of that stuff. So be on the lookout for those videos. But see, the constraint is that I have to wait until the season, until the leaves fall, because we use leaves. We use tons of leaves. So if leaves have already started falling where you're at, take the bags. If the people set them out, at the corner and stuff, take the bags of leaves and just store them for now until I make the videos. And we want as many leaves as we can get. I get dozens and dozens of bags, and out there look a little bit crazy. Everyone else is trying to get rid of them. I'm trying to take them. And you really want to go to, I'll stake out. I'll look and say, oh, okay, those are maple trees. That person's got all oak trees and they got sycamore tree. Okay, so I will go for the maple trees because they break down really fast. The oak trees take the longest of all to break down, but they're the highest in the fungal food and they're the highest in mineral content. So there's trade-offs, but I'll explain all that stuff in the videos. If you guys are into that, let me know. Okay, let's see. Good evening from Adia Baba. Where is that at? Is that in Saudi Arabia? Tena Shitarek. AA, I need to get in on this. Yes, my friend, you do. So if you guys want to get in on the mushrooms, go to the link in the description of my videos. It's North Spore, and use the discount code Garden Viking, and that will give you 10% off. That also helps my thing I'm doing. So that would be really good because I'm part of their program, But I hit them up. They didn't hit me up trying to sell their stuff. I already been using them. And so I'm like, hey guys, I got a YouTube channel. So how about we work something out? And they're like, sure, which is great. So we all win. You get 10% off. I get a little kick, a little cut, and they sell more stuff. So, and remember, we're going to make it last a really long time. The second one that we're going to get is the oyster, the golden oyster mushroom spawn. This here is the sawdust spawn. It's not going to matter so much if it's sawdust or grain, because we're going to use it in the buckets anyways. So, but once you get this stuff, guys, it'll last for like 3 months in the refrigerator. So you don't have to worry about ordering it right at the right time and doing it right away. So just get the supplies, put them somewhere in refrigerator-like conditions, and that will be adequate. It'll just store. See how colonized, man? This is nice, thick white mycelium fungi colonization. And I'll explain all that stuff. But see, this is the substrate, and it's been colonized by the mycelium, which is then going to fruit and become the actual mushroom that we consume. It's wonderful. And they're the opposite of plants. Mushrooms, they are like us. They consume oxygen and release carbon dioxide. Plants consume carbon dioxide and release oxygen, of course. It's a symbiotic relationship, and that's one reason you find them on the forest floor all over. There's mushrooms and myceliums all over the forest floor in this symbiotic type relationship, releasing carbon dioxide. The plants are inhaling it, the mushrooms are exhaling it. Something like that. So what else? Any questions come along? I am taking my mushrooms with me to the desert in Arizona soon. Yes, those are different kind of mushrooms than what we're growing. But back in the day, way back in the day, I was no stranger to that as well. That's actually how I learned how to grow mushrooms way back in the day. I'm talking 20 years ago now. That was before the days of the internet. I had to go to the library and look up books about all these obscure books and stuff. And so I couldn't just type in how to grow mushrooms. You know, you had to like really want it, and you had to like talk to people, and you had to like really make it happen. But it was a great experience. I felt so accomplished when I got my first flush of real mushrooms. I was like, oh yeah, it was such a good feeling. Let's see. No, I bought the kit. Oh, okay. So you are talking about okay. Well, that's good too. I mean, they grow them the same. They grow them the same. Laura says, thanks, Nate. I've been looking for just this information. Fantastic. That's, you see, because most gardeners are like right now, it's like a bittersweet time for us growers, is where it's like, yeah, harvest. It's awesome. Everything's coming to fruition. We're saving seeds. We're harvesting. We're curing sweet potatoes. We're curing a winter squash and all that. But in the subconscious, in the back of the mind, it's pulling at the heart. It's going, yeah, but the season's over. So it's like, yeah, but the season's over. 6 months now where nothing's going to be growing. Oh, that's unacceptable. That's just unacceptable to me. So for that reason, I've developed these practices I've been doing for a number of years now where I indoor grow edible stuff, you know, just simple stuff that you guys can grow, to where we don't stop. So we're going to be doing sprouts and microgreens and the mushrooms, and that is enough to feed the soul, you know, to feed the need to grow. And so that's what's most important, okay? John Doe, just planted my garlic last night, zone 5. Okay, that's might be a little bit early, but if it pops up too big, just make sure you mulch it heavily. It might be a little bit early. Let's see. Great info, Nate. Thanks for sharing your knowledge. You're the go-to guy. Thanks, Michelle. Yeah, anything you need, let me know. And if I don't know, I have no problem saying I don't know enough to give you a confident answer. Can you grow wild mushrooms like chicken of the woods? Well, these are all wild mushrooms, actually. But chicken of the woods, yes, absolutely, we can grow it. However, it is the most difficult of all mushrooms to grow, just because it's very particular. It only grows on oak, and it's particular. But we may very well try. You know, I mean, this channel is going to be around for a long time, hopefully. So, you know, if not this coming year, maybe the next year, or when I finally get the homestead or something like that, when that situation works out and I've got the final plot of land where I can really start doing these things, I'm going to be inoculating all different kinds of the logs. We'll have shiitakes, we'll have logs with the chicken of the woods, hen of the woods, we'll have logs, and we'll have beds of the wine cap mushrooms, all that stuff. So that'll be coming in the years ahead. I'm quite sure of that. So, Reed, I'm harvesting my sweet potatoes up in northern Vermont, but they are spindly. I did it in a greenhouse, but maybe didn't water enough. Probably didn't water enough. When did you plant? And what were the temperatures like? Guys, well, I can't show you now because I can't get mobile, but I just harvested my sweet potatoes yesterday, and I got 30 pounds. I got 30 pounds out of one container. So I'll be making a video probably on the sweet potato harvest, but see, I didn't plant that many this year because last year I had so many that I like burned myself out on the sweet potatoes. And I was like, how do I eat them? You know, there's only so many sweet potato mash type stuff that you can have. I was putting maple syrup on them, and they're great, but I mean, I eat all winter long from this food. So, but now I've discovered another favorite way is to grill it. You just slice it down and you grill the sweet potato with a little bit of olive oil, and then sprinkle the sea salt on. And when I say grill, I mean charcoal with smoke, with chunks of oak. I split my own oak and I use that to, oh, see, I'm getting hungry just talking about it. But guess what, guys? This sweet potato is from last season. It's just beginning to sprout, but it is still rock solid. And this is like almost the last of them, though. I just got a couple left. But the other ones are just now getting cured. So, guys, sweet potato for the major win, okay? Because they just store in the basement all winter long. And that is magnificent as far as food security and stuff, which is, yeah, a very important point. And another point, it's actually something that I wanted to talk about in a moment. But Let me answer this one first. Can I set up some sweet potatoes as house plants now and for slips next year? The sweet potatoes, yes, the vines will grow long. You could just grow the sweet potato in a thing of water and it will grow like 10 feet. You know, the vine will just keep growing. You wouldn't want to use those for slips next year because you want to start fresh ones. And actually, this year I began really using the soil method. So in the years past, I was always using the water method, but I actually found I like the soil method way better. So I'm going to be making a new video this spring, real early spring, late winter, on how to do the soil method, which only takes weeks instead of months. So yeah, but yeah, you can grow them as houseplants. Okay, now there's a lot of talk about food shortages. Now, Dietrich and Dana, $15. Thanks for sharing the knowledge. Thank you, my friends. Dietrich and Dana have been incredibly helpful to me right from the very beginning. I mean, pointing out things, yeah, just like one of those people that just comes out of the ether to help you out. Because he feels like he's gained something, they feel like they've gained something from this channel, and so they give back in that way. It's been awesome, man. So we got this, we're working on this spreadsheet where people can use it to tell when to plant and when to harvest and when to start seedlings. That kind of stuff is very important and very confusing for a lot of people. So yeah, they're my friends now. Let's see. But I wanted to say, where was I talking about? Food shortages. Now, you hear a lot of talk, okay? The guy, M.I. Gardner, I don't know if any of you follow him. He talked about food shortages and the self-sufficient me. You know, these are like the big gardening channels. They're talking about, food security and stuff now. So my take on it, guys, I have another channel that called just Nate Murray. And if you go back 2 years ago, I was talking about food shortages are coming. I was out in the garden and I was like, nobody was talking about it yet, but I felt it in the ether. I just felt it. I said, man, this is going to be, the food supply is so delicate, so delicate. What are we all going to eat? I mean, people don't realize this. And they just think that food comes from the store. And I started realizing this when I started growing my own food and realizing, whoa, people think that, oh, I'm just going to have a little garden and I'm going to grow my own food and I'm going to be self-sufficient. Yeah, you have no clue how much it takes to actually feed yourself. If you try to live off of what you grow, you will be astonished at that, okay? So with that in mind, yes, the potential for food shortages is there. Now, is it something that we need to stress out about? Absolutely not. Is it something that we need to be fearful or worrisome about? Absolutely not. But is it something that we have to prepare for? Absolutely. Now, how do we prepare for it? By living a life that is resilient in the first place. By living a life that is not focused around the delicate infrastructure of the modern civilization. By living a life that is growing our own food as much as possible to offset your caloric intake and preserving our own foods. And if you've watched the 2 videos I made about foods to stock up on and then how to store them 20 years, you will have peace of mind because you will have gone out and you will have got the 5-gallon buckets, the Mylar bags, the oxygen absorbers, and then you've got your 5-gallon bucket, 35 pounds of jasmine rice, 35 pounds of pinto beans, 35 pounds of oats, 35 pounds of pasta, or 35 pounds of all the different staples. And then you put the oxygen absorbers, you seal them up, and you pound the lid on the 5-gallon bucket, label it, and forget about it. Guys, this stuff is good for 25 years, okay? I'm sorry to all the companies that are selling the dehydrated survival food, My Patriot Supply and stuff. You know, that's all great. That's like good if you like have to carry it on your back and run or something, you know. But for the actual long term, you need the good wholesome food, okay? You need the good nourishment, the nutrient dense food, the real stuff, okay? Not a bunch of chemicals that is all gonna preserve your food for a long time. You need rice, beans, lentils, oats, wheat berries, things like that. That's what's, salt, sea salt, real sea salt, Himalayan salt, and store all of that. But once you've got that, okay, once everything is stored and you've got the 5-gallon buckets and the Mylar bags in the basement or wherever else it is that you store them in a cool place, then you can check that off the list. You can say, okay, well, come whatever may, I'm prepared. I'm as prepared as I can be within reason. I'm not going to let it rule my life and be prepping and say, I got 25,000 rounds of ammunition, you know, because when the collapse comes, you know, that's going to be blah, blah, blah. And when the collapse comes, you know, that eats away at the mind and the soul of people. I've seen people in the mountains years ago, before any of this pandemic stuff started, where their soul had been eaten away with this paranoia and this worry and this sense of impending doom. And yet it just never really happens. And it's because humans are resilient. The superpower of the human being is adaptation. And so that got me off on a rant, okay? So whatever comes, we can adapt. That's what I'm saying. But I'm very passionate about that, obviously. Because look, food storage, yes. So we are going to, I mean, this is food security, you know, for me. Is it going to be 100% of my calorie needs? No, but we do everything that we can. So these are going to last all winter. And I've got 20 of these in the basement, you know, and I've got 30 pounds of these in the basement. And I just got like 1/10 of an acre or less where I grow all of this stuff. And look at this, okay? So you know, this is just yesterday, and this is just a tiny little portion of what, this is off of like one plant, you know, so there is so much that you can do. There's so much you can do with just a small amount of space, okay? So these poblanos, for example, are going to be roasted and then fermented and then turned into this smoked poblano hot sauce. And this stuff is divine. This stuff is divine and bursting with life. And so it doesn't matter if people say, well, I've only got a balcony. Well, then grow you a poblano plant and ferment it into this hot sauce with a couple of onions and a couple of other ingredients. And that is going to help us to flavor the food that we've stored, okay? So, yeah, okay. If you guys don't mind though, I would like to say just a little bit more about this stuff because it's what is being talked about right now. And I do have some thoughts on this. So there's this guy called City Prepper, okay? And he's got he's got a channel, a bunch of subscribers, and he made a video, help, please help. And so I looked at it and he was like, guys, you know, I've just got this small balcony. I don't really know how to garden. I don't really know how to grow. So please help me out. Tell me what's the best setup for this situation that I'm in. The best situation for this small amount of space. How can I grow the maximum amount of food? And he's got a lot of mixed review. He's got a lot of people that just don't understand. A lot of people that are talking about the hydro towers and stuff like this that haven't tried growing their own food. And so I'm not going to get into it too deep, but so I sent him an email and said, hey, if you would like to do a consultation, I would be more than happy to gift it to you, my friend, because you need to focus on the plants that matter. You're not going to be growing food to sustain yourself on your balcony, okay? But you can grow nutrition and spice and flavoring for all of the preps, all of the stores. Anyways, Bryce, hello, sir. Good morning, Bryce. How long after starting a batch of JLF can it be used and can be beneficial to a plant? That depends on the one and on the conditions. So if you're making like the weeds or the grasses JLF, those can be, you know, after a couple of weeks. If they're in the sun, after like 2 weeks, they should be liquefied enough. You just want to make sure that the stuff looks dark. You know, even 10 days, if it's in the direct sun, like in midsummer, then it should be fine. So yeah, you can start using it after about 10 days to 2 weeks, and then you can just keep using it for many months. So it just gets better with time. Now, let me see here. It's a lot of work. It's been a year since we moved to a small... Let's see, I just bought a dehydrator. I saw your tomatoes dehydrated video. What else can I dehydrate? Gradina, Pentru. What else can you dehydrate? What can you not dehydrate is more like it. You can dehydrate kale and powder it and make a kale powder, a superfood. So for adding to smoothies or anything like that. You can dehydrate onions. See, I didn't get it right now, but I dehydrate peppers, onions, and garlic all together. And then I put them into a half-gallon mason jar like this. Once they're dehydrated, I just leave them as whole as possible, put them into here, and then it will keep like that all winter long until I'm ready to use it. Then I will just take the thing, grind it all up in a blender or mortar and pestle, and then you have the flavoring, the delicious pepper flavoring, and that is so important. Okay, you need the flavorings, especially because we're coming into winter time now, so we're going to be eating a lot of potatoes and beans that we've grown, and sweet potatoes and cornmeal and squash and rice and lentils. We're going to be eating a lot of that kind of stuff, and it has to taste good. It has to be appealing, and it has to have nutrition. And so we can dehydrate things and utilize that nutrition. Okay, you're good. We're going to make it just like we always have. No hurricane will run me out of our pretty little town. Whoa, are you in the South? You must be around Florida. What do you think of native plants that overlook one planting bed of mine as cover crops? That overtook, okay, native plants that overtook one, you mean what we would consider weeds? It's not the same. It's not the same. Although having weeds in the soil is better than having nothing in the soil, it's not the same as a cover crop. A cover crop we have chosen specifically for their function. Now, the ones that I recommend and have had the best success with are winter rye or winter wheat as well. They're interchangeable. And a clover. If you're in zone 5 and below, it's going to be mammoth red clover. If you're in zone 6 and above, it's crimson clover. Now, those specifically have been chosen because the clovers have the rhizobial bacteria that captures nitrogen out of the air and pumps it into the soil. And that is what we want, because whatever you plant after that is going to be able to utilize and access that really good form of nitrogen. And so it really adds a lot of fertility to the soil, just like beans and peas and any of the legume family. Whatever grows after beans and peas does really well. What it does to the soil is magnificent. And clover is in that same group. And then the winter rye is chosen because, one, you almost can't kill it off. It can freeze down to like -30 or -40 below 0 Fahrenheit and still be fine. But also because of its robust root system. When the plant's only like this big, it can have a root system that goes down 2 feet and that spreads out like this, and it's really fibrous and hair, a lot of fibers. And so when that is terminated, then all those roots decay, and it feeds the soil microorganisms, and it leaves all these channels of air pockets and all this it aerates the soil. It tills the soil without actually tilling it in a way. It's far superior to tilling the soil once you've broken up the hardpan. So Matt says, I plan to plant garlic and onions in that bed next month. Next month? Let's see. So where exactly are you located though? Because the onions would have to be like a short day onion that they do in the South. I will try and use that for next year's heat lovers. Yeah, because you're not gonna be able to terminate that and then plant right into that unless you tilled it all up. Then you would be able to terminate it, but you would lose most of the benefits of that. Let's see, what do you think? And let's see, I bought a dehydrator. My smoked poblano hot sauce will be ready next week. Nice. It's very beneficial and delicious. And I like the way you rant. Thank you, Joe. Thank you very much. Kaolin, I have used your natural homemade pesticide. It's effective on my comfrey and pak choi patches. Thanks. Can I use frozen fish for making my hydrolysate? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Fresh is ideal because they've got all of the best kind of microorganisms already in them. But yes, you can use frozen fish because it's the proteins, it's the fish proteins in the flesh that we're really trying to get, okay? 808 says, rice, rice, rice. I'd probably die without it. Yeah, man. Most of the world eats rice for every meal, and they're very healthy. Let's see. Angela Melo, you really have to put your mind, body, and soul. There's a lot of work, some failure, but if we never give up, it's rewarding. We got hit hard by Ian. Most of our trees are in bad shape. Okay, but how about your house and all of that? You are good? I have a new garden spot this year. I'm planning on growing a cover crop. I was thinking clover, but would winter rye be better for clay soil? Okay, so new garden plot this year. I'm planning on growing. So what would be really ideal? And I'm going to make the video about it. You still got to watch the video, but I'll just tell you real quick. What would be ideal is to pile up leaves or sticks or whatever you have the ability in as big of an area as the garden is going to be, and to burn it all and let it all burn down, and the ashes fertilize the soil, and then plant a cover crop on top of that. Now plant a mixture of crimson clover, because you're in Oregon, right? Plant a mixture of crimson clover and winter rye. Yes, because the clover is going to add the nitrogen to the soil. The winter rye is going to help to go down and break up the stuff. Unless, I mean, you have to assess if your soil is really compacted. If you have a hard pan of soil like we do in the Midwest from years of maluse and stuff like that, but we have a layer, there can be some topsoil, but then we have a layer underneath that is just rock solid, impenetrable clay. And so you have to, it's very beneficial to at least the one initial time to do a good tilling of the soil deep to break up that hard pan and allow the cover crop roots to penetrate that. Because if you have true deep, hard soil, like what I'm talking about, like what we have around here, no roots are penetrating that. I mean, a tree root will over dozens of years, but your plants are not really they're gonna hit. Watch the video I made about, it's just a real short one. It says, watch this before starting a no-till garden, okay? And that gives a good example of exactly what I'm talking about. Our legato, for a guy like that, I would say barter yard space for a portion of the harvest. Regarding city prepper, that's actually really good advice. I would say barter yard space for a portion of the harvest. Yeah, that's actually really good advice for him personally. But there's a lot of people that are in like apartments and that want to know, what can I grow on the balcony? So, I mean, if I was talking to him, then I would say, look, you have to be realistic. You're not going to be growing a lot of calories in that space. So you can either grow potatoes, especially the fast growing type, that is going to, like a Yukon or a Pontiac Red or a Yukon Gold, in 75 days you got potatoes. And those are the most amount of work or most amount of calorie for input is the potatoes. So that, if you could do some grow bags of that would help in a small space. But most importantly, you're going to want to be growing the flavoring and the life force. So microgreens and mushrooms and then the flavorings, the peppers and the things like that. I mean, there's so many options depending on what your goals are. But especially for like preppers that have all the food preps like I was just talking about, you have to have your stuff tasting good, because it's so important. The morale, in a situation where you would actually have to tap into your preps, you want to look forward to that. You don't want to have to be eating the same gruel every day, like on the ship in the Matrix, when they're just eating that slop. That doesn't help morale. You want to have like good food that you cook from scratch, that is like delicious, that smells wonderful, that tantalizes all the senses, involves all the senses, and hits all the levers and stuff. That's what you want, because then people, it's astonishing how much you can just overlook if you have a hot, awesome, amazing meal at night in the evening. If you know that you're going to have a nice, big, just amazingly cooked meal, you can tolerate almost anything throughout the day, be weather conditions or work conditions or whatever it is. It's so good, my friends. So you know what I'm saying. Joe says, I have rocky soil. Should I screen the rocks out for initial garden? It depends how rocky. You know, I'd have to see that to know. But if not necessarily, though. You could incorporate organic matter into it, but you could also, I mean, okay, now I'm thinking like real rocky soil. Like if you're in Colorado somewhere or something like that, then yeah, you probably will want to. Or even consider doing, like there's one that video I made, grass to garden in one day, where I used the weed fabric and then the cloth pots. That's a really good method. I mean, I've a number of people that do that. We did that method out west, and it works really well. If your soil, because I would have to see it, but it might be way too much more than it's worth. You know, who knows? But if it's real rocky, yeah, you'll need to screen it out. But they can tolerate lots of rocks, especially with good microbial activity. It's just more minerals. Okay. Angela says, part of my roof was blown away. My chickens attacked by wild dogs. Wow, man, roof was blown away. Well, I wish you the best in rebuilding and healing. Ingrid says, I did grow cover crops on it this year. Oh, okay, good. Well, that's ideal. Then, let's see. Val says, got our Anasazi beans from local farmers market. When do I plant beans? Zone 7B. Thanks for all you do. Now, you will plant beans in the, they cannot take any frost whatsoever. And they love the heat, especially the Anasazi beans. So you want to plant those like late winter, early summer, or late winter, early spring in your area. That's what you want to do. My throat's getting a little bit hoarse. So I'm going to take some water and pour it into here. And then I'm going to take a drop of the clove oil from doTERRA, of course. No, I'm not affiliated with them. I just love their stuff. Use them for all different kinds of things. And then I'm just going to take it and gargle with it, and that will solve it. Wow, yeah, man, that is so fantastic. It's just like the clove. Okay, fall is here now. That's official. The taste of cloves. So, okay, my friends, what else? Let's see. What else are we going to? Shaman King. Do you recommend the use of a soil surfactant or wetting agent for compacted hard soil? It may be necessary, yes, but it's not going to matter all that much. So if you have living roots in the ground, they're going to break it up enough. And if you have the appropriate microbial activity, then you are going to, the microbes are going to break up the soil enough anyways, because in the action of the microbes, they sort of make the soil particles stick together using a type of glue called glomalin. And when the soil sticks together like that, it sort of pulls it apart and makes little crumbles. And that's what gives it like that crumbled hamburger beef kind of look. And that is aeration to the soil. So a wetting agent is a lot more for the surface of plants, for the leaves, so that whatever you're spraying onto it can penetrate the plant leaves. But also, if it's incredibly hydrophobic, that's what they call that. If the soil is incredibly hydrophobic, meaning the water just runs off and stuff, yeah, you'll want to use the wetting agent. Let's see, Angela, I have lots of ants and how you get rid of ants. I'm growing sweet potatoes and I don't want them around my sweet potatoes. Well, I've actually never had enough problems with ants to know, to say anything either way. So yeah, I can't be of much help in that. Actually, people ask me about ants all the time, and someone said something about it was like a borax or something that they let the ants eat. But I've just never had that problem. You know, ants have been there, but they don't really do a lot to the soil. So Let's see. Okay, my friend is texting me. I need you to text me right now. But yeah, sorry, Elsa. So, greetings. What is the best way to build soil in raised beds? 24 inches tall that only have 2 months or less downtime in winter. Thank you for sharing the wisdom. Okay, so what is the best way to build soil in raised beds that are 2 feet tall that only have 2 months or less of downtime in the winter? Well, now you can probably just add fertility. Adding fertility is going to be the way to go. Adding compost, adding some horse manure. Horse manure would be the most ideal, or rabbit manure. You could use chicken manure if it was already composted a bit. You could add all of that into the soil. Now you could do like a clover. I mean, that would be really good, but the thing is that you would have to till it all up in order to terminate it, and that would like kind of defeat the purpose. Unless you till already. If you're already like in that train of functioning where you till, then you could do. I would recommend a clover for sure, or even a pea. Do a pea. Those are real easy to terminate. Hard to till in beds this raised. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so then try like a pea or something that is really easy to terminate naturally. So, but I would just add fertility. Just add the compost and the manure and stuff like that. 2 months isn't really enough time for the magic of the cover crops to take hold. Nasturtium is best for sore throat. Chickens and guinea fowl love it too. Nasturtium for sore throat. Is that right? I wonder how how? Like nasturtium tea? Let's see. Hold on. I gotta... Nasturtium tea or what? In what way do you take the nasturtium? So, okay. I think someone gave us an answer on the ant thing. Roverino says, borax and sugar soaked into cracker or an old slice of bread. You want them to take the poison bait, borax, back to the queen. Ooh, okay. So listen up, everyone, about the ants. This guy, Roverino, Snarkman, says borax and sugar soaked into cracker or an old slice of bread. You want them to take the poison bait, which is the borax, back to the queen. Give it a try and let me know how it works. But first assess if the ants are doing anything, because ants are very vital for all sorts of things in the garden. So first assess. I know you might not like them, but that doesn't mean that they're bad for the garden. Yeah, Donnie Brooks says ruthless. I know, it does sound ruthless. Let it carry the poison bait back to the queen. But if it's destroying your stuff, then you have to use something. I mean, I am completely the Viking way is that if you must get the harvest, it's all about getting the harvest. So if your harvest is threatened, then you got to use whatever means is necessary. But first assess how threatened the harvest actually is. If it's just an inconvenience, or if they're just chewing up leaves, then or whatever, then that's not. I wouldn't worry about it. But if you want to, then use that method. Let's see. If one ferments weed brew in a 55-gallon barrel that has remnants of moldy almond butter, would that be bonus nutrient or potential toxin? Moldy almond butter, as long as it's just almonds and oil or whatever. I don't know. I would, if it's just almonds, then no, absolutely, it'd be perfectly fine. If there's some kind of oil or palm oil or preservative or something like that, you'd want to wash it out first. But if it's just almonds, absolutely, that will work. Okay. Roverino says, this is for ants in your house. Not all ants are attracted to sugar. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Ants in your house is a different thing. I guess we're talking about ants in the garden. And I think that's what the question was, ants near the sweet potatoes. Ants are minor pollinators as well. Yes, Brian, that is also true. Surfer Dude, you can use cinnamon to keep ants away. Trish also says, the ground cinnamon is a deterrent but won't kill them. Okay, well, that's good to know. Then Mitch says, I have mature forests nearby. Okay to use leaf mold versus compost? Yes. Okay, you're talking about the beds? then yes, use that. Use the mature leaf mold, but also you're gonna want some actual NPK-CS, nitrogen, potassium. Man, my throat is but yeah, you're gonna want some actual nutrients. So you're gonna want like a chicken manure or a horse manure, some kind of manure. Manures are the ultimate thing that we add before the to replenish the soil. Okay. Jason says, I just chew leaves, but made a tincture with alcohol as well. Super high in vitamin C. I think you're talking about nasturtium. That's good. Okay, Miss P. Have had ants destroy plants when they create too many tunnels around the roots. That is interesting. That must be a real bad infestation, okay? Oh, my mom says, do you want us to bring the trailer over? It must be because I wasn't answering my phone. No, Mom, I don't have any place to put the trailer right now. So go ahead and just, I told you that though when I had to unload it. So, but thank you. So let us see, are there any more? If one does the, okay, so let's see here. Marcus Wyon says, go moms. That's right, man. My mom's very, very awesome. Definitely. Very lucky with that in that aspect. So let's see, fertilizer. Okay, I talked about the fertilizer. I said that that video I just made is, it might have come across, because based upon some people's response, it might have come across like I'm saying you don't need any fertilizers. But that's not true, really. I'm just saying, I mean, it is true that if the soil is on point, they don't need that, okay? They do not need additional fertilizers, just like the body would need. I explained in the video. But you can still always give them a nice top off of the fertilizer. I was just trying to drive home the point that we must not become over-reliant on the liquid fertilizers, because I've seen that with a lot of people now, is that they are becoming over-reliant on the liquid fertilizers and not focusing on the base. The base nutrition is the what you put into the soil, the manures, and the compost, the leaves. That is the base nutrition. That is the equivalent of, if we want it to be big and healthy or strong and healthy, it's the equivalent of the real food. The real food being the potatoes, the beef, the eggs, the grains, you know, the real food that we eat, as opposed to the supplements, you know, taking multivitamins and stuff like that. Now that's more like what the fertilizers are, okay? So I'm just driving home the point. You have to focus on the base nutrition of the plants. And to do that, you put it into the soil now, okay? That's the ideal way to do that. Joe says, can you add straight J-Dom fertilizer to your terminated raised beds? Absolutely, yes. You can add straight to the raised beds, but not once there's a plant in the ground. Bulldog Fishmaster, hit that like button for the Viking, everyone. Thank you very much, my friend. And yes, please hit the like button. And we just hit 118. 118 congruent. That's the most yet, I think. So thank you very much, everyone. And the channel just hit 30,000 subscribers like yesterday or something. Man, that is just awesome. I mean, it is really a good sign. That means that people are hungry for the knowledge, and that people are, what it means is that more people are growing their own food than before, than has been. There's a resurgence in this. And especially in the younger generation. And that's very important, because they will become the older generation. And so I really like the fact that people are interested in this. So I love the flow of information and knowledge. It's just fantastic, you know. So thank you guys all for your support, and thank you for being a part of this channel, especially you guys. You are like my inner core, you know, like the inner circle of people that are like watch all the videos and participate in the live stream and do the, you know, interacting donations and stuff like this. All of that, I appreciate all of that. Yes, grow your own. And hey, Nate, when do you harvest winter squash? You harvest winter squash, well, it depends when you planted it. So you have to harvest it before a frost. If it gets even kissed by a little frost, and I'm talking the squash itself, it will not store. So, I mean, it will be bad. So the same for potatoes and sweet potatoes. You do not you don't want any of that stuff to get frosted in any way. So ideally, you will let the whole plant, though. If you plant the squash like June 1st, it should be well dead by now. So it should be dead, and you just let it cure in the sun for a week or so, and that's going to make that skin get nice and thick. So you want to have the sun cure the skin. The sweet potato skin needs to be cured. So just leave it out in the sun and rotate it every day or two, every couple days, so that it gets full exposure. And that's going to make sure that the skin is strong. Because if there's any blemish in the skin, that is what will keep it from storing so long. So Jose Santos, congratulations for the 30K. You have the gift of communication. Thank you very much, my friend. I'm glad that you feel this way. Let's see. Did you know that there are people that say that symbol is a white Supremo burrito symbol? What? On your shirt? Oh. I don't know about that, my friend. This is, I actually don't know exactly what this is, but I think you're thinking of a different one. So, but now you're going to make me look into it, because I don't think that's true. But if it is, then we'll have to remedy that. Yes, grow your own. I have tons of ants and they're destructive. Fertilizer business is in the billions now. Oh, absolutely, man. The price of fertilizers is out of this world. Just insane. And we have to add more and more to the soils because the soils are less and less life-giving. It's bad. It's bad, but that's sort of, we could say, a planned business model. Get the soil. The chemical fertilizers are like heroin or opioids of any kind for the plants. Once they start using them, that it's great for a time, and it really, everything's thriving for a time, but the plant and the soil become dependent upon that, because the life in the soil naturally dies back. Or I mean, not naturally, but it dies back because it's starved and it's poisoned from the pesticides and the fertilizers. And so in the subsequent years and the decades now, you have to use more and more of the product because the soil can't give the life like that anymore. And that is where we are at. That is a major, major issue. And that's what I said in some of those other videos that I made 2 years ago. We've killed the soil. We are killing the soil. And that is just an unimaginable issue. So let's see. Have used your natural homemade pesticide. It's efficient on my comfrey and yeah, thanks. Can I use frozen fish? Yes, I already said that, Kayline. I think you added that again, right? But yes, you can use frozen fish, definitely. But fresh is best, but frozen can also work. It's the proteins in the fish that we need. Catherine says, maybe he's thinking swastika, right, or something like that. Well, if it is, I assure you, my friends, that's not how it's intended to be worn. So, Tirza Schmaltz, $10. Thank you very much, my friend. Woohoo, 30K. Congrats and thank you. I appreciate this, my friend. It's all you guys. It's really cool. It's just like everyone is like, hey, we want to do this. So, and I'm just like, well, okay, well, here's what I know about it. So, practically the first half of J-Don book is about corporate-driven agriculture. Jaw-dropping. Yeah, it really is. It is really jaw-dropping. Let's see. Garden Like a Viking. Isn't it true that certain people are born with the talent and desire to grow food and farm? Isn't it true that I would believe so, yeah. Yeah, I believe so. I believe that as humans, it's the most human thing that we can do. That that we want to grow the food, that which sustains us, you know? That's and that would make sense because the people that did that successfully, that grew the food or acquired the food, they were the ones that survived. And so we have a very deeply ingrained sense of food, especially growing things. That's why if you look, and you can look into the research, but you can also just experience yourself if having houseplants, what it can do for the mind and for the psyche. Okay, so let us bring this somewhat to a close. So if anyone has any burning questions, please ask them. Ms. P, Nate, you might want to consider getting mods for your channel. As you grow, you will attract some fruitcakes. Man, you are not kidding, Ms. P. I know. I have, yeah, some people that are really far out there, you know, but also there's a lot of people that they, when they watch something, they'll be like this. They'll watch something and they'll think, okay, well, I'll watch this, and they'll go, okay, what can I disagree with? What can I disagree with? Where's he wrong? Where's my knowledge superior? Ah, there it is. Okay, so actually, that's not true. What you want to, the calcium acetate, man, and then they're going to go off on some whole big thing, and that's just totally missing the point of the whole thing. You know, just a lot of points being missed. You know, a lot of people hyper focusing on tiny little aspects of certain thing, you know, as opposed to seeing the big picture, you know. And we have to keep our vision expanded, very expanded. And when we focus down on the tiny little things, then it drives the mind insane. Right, that's the internet. Brings all kinds, so folks just troll, ignore them. Oh, absolutely. Man, when I first started this stuff, it's crazy because never in my life has someone spoken to me in person the way that people have on the internet. I mean, they just wouldn't. They just wouldn't. I mean, I've traveled all over the world, been in crazy ass situations, and still, no one's ever said to me things like they say online. And I'm just, at first I was just like, what? You know, and the fire within me came out. How dare he speak to me? This, you know, but that was, you know, I've since, it's been great practice, you know, just saying, oh, okay, well, I know that what I'm saying and what I'm doing, I know my intentions are pure, and I know my experience is legit because it's been my experience. And so I just let that guide me. You know, I have there's one mantra that I've had for a number of years. Infinite Spirit goes before me and opens the way. Infinite wisdom tells me what to do and what to say. So think of that. And I let that guide me, and it has guided me all throughout the world. Infinite Spirit goes before me and opens the way. Infinite wisdom tells me what to do and what to say. And with that in mind, it's infinite wisdom speaking. It's not even me. It's and the way has been made open for me. It's not anything I'm doing. So that's the philosophy that has guided me throughout the world. Let's see. Bulldog says, yep, don't worry about it, Viking. Keep growing. Absolutely, my friend. Yeah, to the point now where if someone says that kind of stuff, I just, oh, okay, well, that's really a reflection of how they're feeling inside. I mean, and we know this is basic human psychology. You know, when someone is constantly putting the negative stuff down on people, or when they're trying to put you down, or they're trying to say goofy shit about you, we know that that's how they feel inside about themselves. You know, and so we just have to have compassion on them to say, okay, well, they live in an internal environment that is bleak. Their internal landscape is bleak, or they must feel this way about themselves. And so I'm not going to take any of that into my internal landscape, because mine is bright and shiny and just full of life and full of green growing things and sunshine. That's the internal landscape that I choose to have. You know, so don't be bringing your darkness around here. You know, people just have to chime in and need to be superior. They absolutely just, I gotta say something and say, well, actually, I thought, man, okay, you're missing the point. And that's the one thing, man, I do not debate. I mean, it's different. In my day-to-day life, I really don't talk that much. I listen a lot more, you know, but, and one thing I don't do is sit there and try and debate and prove my point. I used to in years past, but there's no longer that need within me to have you understand me. I don't, you know, it used to be, no, listen, because I needed you to understand what I was saying, you know, for psychological, you know, subconscious reasons and things. But now, since I've sort of awakened, we'll say, we'll just use that kind of language. Now there's no need for any of that. I don't care if people understand me or not. And I don't care if I don't need you to validate me in any way. So, you know, if you want to say something positive, that's awesome. I appreciate you. But if you want to be spewing the negative, then just go somewhere else, you know, because I'm not going to absorb any of that. Dietrich and Dana, the haters say what they will, but continue to watch you week after week. He's right, because I've talked to him through some Zoom meetings, and there is a set amount of people, like a handful, just like 4 people, that consistently leave negative comments on the videos and consistently put I know it's them, because each one of the videos gets like 4 thumbs down right away, and so, and I know that their comments, from them, and they're all negative, and they're all sort of just spiteful and sort of just ill, and I'm like, but you're still watching the video. Why just stop watching the videos then, dude? It's like an irritating mosquito, but it's funny. Angela Melo, we love what you're sharing with us, Mr. Viking, and you love what you do. That's absolutely right, my friend. What's so great about all of this is that what you see here is what I would be doing anyways, even if there wasn't like a channel. I mean, I'm just, in a way, but this is what I would be doing anyways. This is what I want to do all the time, day and night anyways. Just a few more. Sylvia says, do you delete it or block them? Actually, no. I'm just all about, I mean, if it was like really offensive towards a certain group of people or something like that, then yeah, I would block it, or I would delete it. But I've yet to delete comments, just because I feel like everyone, you can say whatever you want. And sometimes people will back me up a little bit, but I don't need that. I mean, I don't care. Well, I know the truth. I know the deal. So I don't need any of that. But I just like the aspect of anyone can say whatever they want, within reason though. So yeah, if it got too crazy, I would delete it, but it hasn't been like that to me yet. Martin says, you are an inspiration to me. Thanks for all your knowledge. Thank you very much for telling me that, my friend. It's inspiring to hear that from you guys, because, like I say about the internet thing, if we were all in a room right now and I was given like a presentation or something, then I would see your faces and I would be getting a feedback. There'd be eye contact, you'd be nodding your heads, or you'd be shaking your heads, or you'd look perplexed or something like that. And I would know, oh, okay, I should talk more about this, or I should talk less about that. There's that constant feedback loop when you're in person and the energy and stuff. But here you don't get that. Here it's just, I'm talking to my phone. I mean, but all you guys are on the other side, which is crazy to think about, and so for that reason, I just have to go off of the comments and sort of the energy in the ether, and stuff like that. But it's just really different. So thank you for saying stuff like that, because that's the feedback, that's the feedback loop. Let's see. Worms in raised beds, garden like, whoa. Oh. Worms in raised beds, garden like a Viking, or unnecessary. The ideal thing in your raised beds is to create an environment that attracts the worms. You want the worms to come to you. You don't want to have to put worms into the soil. So you do that by keeping a high level of organic matter into the soil, and composting in place. If you have raised beds, you can dig a trench down the center and put a bunch of raw material, leafy greens, cabbages, or compost, stuff that you would compost, leaves and stuff, and then cover it up with the soil so that you will attract the worms. That's the best way to do it. So yes, create an environment to which the worms love to thrive. And by putting 3 inches or so of leaves on top of the soil, that's going to attract the worms. Worms love leaves. Remember I said this. To attract a maximum amount of worms, just always have 3 to 4 inches of leaves on top of the soil. And worms, you'll pull that stuff up and there will be dozens of worms. I mean, when I go out to some of my beds and I'll pull up the leaves, there will just be worms all up in it. And then at night when I go out there with the headlamp, as I'm walking, I'll just see all the big night crawlers, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of night crawlers just out on the soil surface. And I'll stomp down and they'll all go away. And there's so many worms, and I've never added worms. I've never had a worm bin here at this location. I used to, it's somewhere else. But I never had worms or anything like that here. And that is because it's not necessary, because I create a place, the conditions that attract them to me. So, okay. Barbara says, I live in Florida. I've never seen a worm in my soil. What? Okay. Do we expect a video from you on FPJ soon? What is the dosage like per gallon? FPJ will be in the springtime, actually, because that is the best time to make the FPJ. So I will do the springtime, and most people's gardens are coming to an end and stuff. So, and we're going to be moving to the indoor gardening stuff. So FPJ will be in the springtime, because that's really when you want, believe me, if you make a good FPJ in the springtime, it will last all summer. Okay, couple more, my friends. But then it's gotta, my throat's like raw. Question about fresh horse manure in wood shavings. Would this be aged before use or spread on the surface of the garden? How thick of a layer? Well, if you need horse manure, you can plant pretty much straight into horse manure. I mean, it's best to let it compost a little bit. So if you're going to put it on the soil now, so if it's fresh with the wood shavings, put it in the soil now. Add as much as you want, really. I would incorporate it a little bit into the soil and let it sit over the winter. In fact, that's what I'm going to do here. But if it's composted, you can actually plant right into it. So you could compost it in a big pile, and then in the spring you can so because you got to get that heat if you want to compost it and kill the weed seeds. Then in the springtime you can plant into that. You can spread it out, and that's really good. Okay. Catherine, $10. Thank you very much, my friend. I appreciate your support. And yes, I saw your comment, and yes, I am looking forward to working with you when the time comes. John Doe, I'd like to see a Viking gardening forum with a section for trading seeds. That's a great idea. What platform would that be on? How would I do that? The Garden Like a Viking website, yes. Which Dietrich and Dana, they're helping me. He's sort of helping me planting all these seeds figuratively in my mind. And so I got all kinds of ideas, but yes, through the website probably. That would be the best. Nita says, are night crawlers and red wigglers different? Yes, red wigglers are composting worms. So red wigglers, they don't they eat stuff. They eat like dead plant matter. And they are not, night crawlers go deep into the soil, like 2 to 3 or more feet into the soil. And they're the real big ones. They can be, this long and thick as your finger. And they eat different things. And you'll see them at night pulling leaves down into their burrow. You go out there, I'll go out there and I'll listen, and I just hear, and I was like, what is that? And look, and they're pulling the leaves down into the burrow. Red wigglers, though, those are the composting worms. So those are the kind that will decay a bunch of stuff, Let's see here. Watched your vid on growing potatoes in bags in soil. I have those gray fabric bags. Can I punch holes in them for veggies? I have those gray fabric bags. Can I punch holes in them for veggies? What do you mean, punch holes in them? You can use those bags for veggies, yes. Kaolin, stay above those petty-minded, envious minds who criticize but keep watching you. Crazy people. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's my philosophy as well. Just pettiness. And once you raise your frequency, the vibration, we'll call it, once you raise that yourself through your practices and your life and stuff, that those kind of frequencies, those negative, lower energy, they're so out of harmony with you that it just like bounces right off of you. You don't even absorb that because you're a light. You're light. You're vibrating very high frequency, and your thoughts are positive and light. And so that kind of stuff it's like. So let's see. Okay, I keep saying this, a couple more, but I'm just having a good time with you guys. So probably $1 million worth of worms. They go for $1.25 at the bait shop. Yeah. Oh yeah. $1.25 a dozen. Yeah. Lots of leaves. Have lots of worms. Hello, Nate, and hello, all of you lovely people. Hello, Pam. Glad to see you could make it. Okay, so any more questions? Leaves are over. Any more? Hello, Jacob. Okay, my friends, so we're going to bring this to a close, all right? So it's been really good hanging out with you guys. If you use the links in the description, so You'll get 10% off from the North Spore because we're going to be doing the mushrooms here on the channel in starting about 3 weeks to a month. Can you see already? I'm getting the pinheads. Look at that. And it's only been a few days. And so just every day we will spray it. And I'll be making videos. You guys will learn this winter all about mushrooms. Everything you need to know, about mushrooms and how they are the opposite of the plant. They consume oxygen and produce carbon dioxide. The plant consumes the carbon dioxide, produces the oxygen. Symbiotic relationship. But these are much closer to how we function. So, yeah. Also get your cover crop seeds. There's a link in the description to get the cover crop seeds. I would appreciate it if you used it. If you're going to buy the cover crops anyways, then the link in the description, I'll get a little bit of kickback, and that's great. So remember, cover crops, you still got plenty of time to plant them. If you're in zone 5 and below, it's mammoth red clover. If you're in zone 6 and above, it's crimson clover. All zones do winter rye or winter wheat, whichever you like. But also for the microgreens and the sprouts in particular, you can get your sprout seeds from the link in the description as well. And this I think it's 5 pounds of these, 5 pounds of alfalfa sprouting seeds. One of these will last me like 2 years. So we'll be doing alfalfa is the #1 sprout. Although I'm also going to show you a classic ancient way to sprout mung beans, because they are different. And then also you can get these 5-gallon buckets from the same company, and these are awesome. They store for a long time. This is the hard red winter, the organic stuff, because I grind it into flour. Also, I sprout it into wheatgrass. You guys will see, man, that's 35 pounds. I was just doing one-armed lateral raises with that. So you will see this winter we'll be sprouting our own wheatgrass. We'll be juicing it. We'll be making our own tonics. And guys, remember, in the dreary days of winter, we will want that liquid sunshine. The wheatgrass juice is liquid sunshine, and you will feel it. Okay? So, okay, my friends, I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for hanging out. It's a pleasure.